everyone, I'm Zoya Hasan and I'm here with Ryan Smith, a Forbes 30 under 30 lister. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, you made our list for LeafLink, which was a company in the cannabis industry, and now you've started something brand new in a very different industry. So tell me a little bit about what you were building over at LeafLink and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so back in 2016, we started LeafLink, which is still around, doing really well. We built a B2B wholesale marketplace for legal cannabis companies. We basically streamlined the way dispensaries purchase their wholesale inventory, and we grew it over the last 9, 10 years to have 80% market share. So, 4 out of 5 things sold in the US go through LeafLink. We raised a few $100 million for that business. But it was all about enterprise commerce and back office transactions, like the things that are often overlooked but help businesses run and are the key to their success. And so after being there for almost a decade, decided to transition out to a board role. We brought in a new CEO, which was doing a great job, and started focusing on something new at Mura.
And what exactly is this something new? Tell me more.
Yeah, so when we started LeafLink, it was in a very new industry, an industry that I enjoyed, I think made most people feel uncomfortable. Cannabis had just gone legal in Colorado, and somehow today it's still federally illegal. And so it was a really underserved industry. But at the end of the day, entrepreneurs who needed tools, they needed software, they needed solutions. So we built that for them. When we were looking to build something new, really excited to be partner with our first hire at LeafLink, now my co-founder, Claire DeRoberts. We wanted to find something that was also overlooked, but this time it was really important to find a more mature industry with profitable businesses, really sophisticated business people running them. But we wanted something that was less, not necessarily the sexiest thing, but an absolutely essential thing, and often overlooked. And that's where we wanted to build and serve. And so with Mura, we're automating components of the order to cash process for field service companies. So imagine the business that helps the AC continue to work in this building, or the coffee machines not go offline at your favorite coffee shop. Those are our customers.
Okay, give me like a practical example of how that's being used in the back end. Like what are your customers doing with your software?
Right. So one of our customers serves one of the largest coffee chains in the US, and they are the service provider. So if something goes offline, they need to dispatch a technician to actually go physically to that location and fix it. In order for that to happen, there's a number of systems where the item breaks, the general manager needs to file a work order. That work order can go through 80 different systems to our customers. Our customers use a bunch of different systems to process the order, to bill the order, to track the order. And a lot of these are pretty older legacy systems. So what we look to do is focus less on building a whole new software stack. We are looking to automate the labor, the work that the people do on top of that existing technology. So when we come to our customers, we say, hey, you're moving tens of thousands of orders a month. You have a whole team of dispatch agents and billing agents to do that work. We'll step in and automate a lot of that for you, and meet you where you are.
But in this industry, as you said, it's a mature industry and you're introducing AI. Is that a challenge with convincing those customers who've done this for decades with the same old systems, who just, are used to what they do? Is it a challenge to convince them to go and automate?
Yeah, there were two things that got us really excited about the opportunity. The first was that it was overlooked. I think the second is that there's a huge change happening in these businesses. They are truly like Main Street US companies, and they exist everywhere. And a lot of them are family businesses. So right now you have a generational shift of ownership from parents to people in our generation running those businesses, or they're selling a lot of them to private equity firms, and there's a lot of consolidation happening. So generally you have more forward thinking, like tech first owners, runners of these businesses, operators, and that what we're building really appeals to them because they understand the efficiency it can bring. The second part is we love this idea of bringing the most cutting edge technology. We have really close partnerships with all the infrastructural AI, like language model layer businesses, to places where some of the systems they use are over 30 years old. And so the way those things interface, we think, is where the opportunity is. But for us, when we talk to people who aren't in that group and are older, they'll say, "Oh, I love ChatGPT for writing emails. I have no idea how this could work for my business. We're like, awesome. We'll show you how, and let us come kind of explain the value that we can bring in a very practical, clear ROI way. So there's some education, but when we convert them, they like see the light and really love it.
How do you price this, the product? How do you kind of convince them to drop these old ways and adopt a whole new manner and then also pay for it?
Yeah. One of the things that we've thought a lot about when we started like theorizing what Mura would be was we think people are SaaSed out. They have too many software as a service solutions. The last thing they want to buy is another per butt, per seat, per month software tool from someone who looks like us. And so instead, what we say is we want it to be completely based on the value that we bring your business. And so we charge a transaction fee, transaction-based model on the number of transactions and orders that they have processed through their systems that we help them do more efficiently. So if they can do things 3.5 times faster than they used to do it before, we have a very clear calculation on like it's literally an investment versus a amorphous kind of few $100,000 a month on a software tool alongside the half dozen others they already have.
You just came out of stealth, so has it been, easy to find customers? Has it been a challenge?
We are being really deliberate in the customers that we bring on. We're targeting some of the largest, and we're already working with a few of the largest private equity owned consolidated shops. But although we're out of stealth, I always find that word kind of funny.
Okay.
Like, we're building and we're happy to work with the best customers. But we know how to move fast and scale quickly, but we really want to be super deliberate and go very deep with the quality of the software that we're building. And so we are on site with our customers right now, and we are working as best we can to perfect the product. Like last week, I was in North Carolina, Louisiana, Texas, and Colorado just with customers, staying at some terrible hotels. But like that's how close we want to be, and we're still very much at that stage of the business, which we love.
Okay, amazing. Tell me a little bit more about this private equity trend you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest right now in, when I first graduated college a little over 10 years ago, venture was really hot. People were not thinking about profitable businesses. It was just like grow, scale, you'll figure out how to make money later. I think that the perception of that has really turned to there are some amazing businesses that may not grow as quickly, but make money every single year, and they're essential. And so I think private equity particularly, or search funds generally, are some of the hottest new jobs for people coming out of school, particularly from MBA. And so all of this capital now is being put towards businesses that acquire other businesses, and then they try to get margins at scale and efficiency at scale as a result. But what's cool about a lot of that is you have people that went to a great school, did their thing, and now they're running a field service business in Columbus, Ohio. And they're there with the crew that's been there for 25 years and figuring it out. And so there's a lot of interesting kind of fun things that they have to navigate, and we love jumping in there to help them do that.
How much money has Mura raised so far?
We closed a $6 million seed round in December that was led by Level 1 Fund and Lair Hippo. So some incredible people we've known for a long time.
Are those some of the investors that you built a relationship with when you were at LeafLink?
Yep. So Lair Hippo was the first institutional investor at LeafLink, which was a big deal. No one wanted to touch cannabis at all. And I built a really close relationship with Andrea Hippo and Ben Lair there. And so when I decided to transition out of LeafLink, they basically said, come work at our office, take meetings here, use this space as your own space. And they were also really helpful for us in the good times and the hard times at LeafLink. And so that relationship's super deep. And then similar with Level 1, just like we wanted to be super hyper selective on the people we got to work with this time.
When you went to them with this new idea, what was sort of their reaction?
Yeah, they are some of the most active seed investors probably on the East Coast. I think they also know that a lot of the time when you're starting something early and it's two people, it's really a character bet. It's like you could say a lot of things that you're excited about and opportunities you think you see, but inevitably it will evolve and change. Can the people figure that out? And so they saw us do that and scale LeafLink up to several hundred people and market share, the 80% market share we had. So I think it was more around, can Ryan and Claire, and now with our third co-founder James, do something huge again? and let's go down that path with them.
LeafLink ended up raising, or has raised so far, some 300 million, if I remember correctly. Are you going to do that again with Mura? Is that the goal, to make it this, big company with a lot of funding and high valuation?
I've come to learn that I don't think those are all married together, those three concepts. I think you could build something much larger today with much less capital, and we're still figuring out exactly like how true and how big that can be. We're always really excited about, like, we defined the cannabis industry with what we built at LeafLink. This time around, we want to do something even larger, but I think we don't need anywhere near the amount of capital to do that. And so part of when I think of us moving a little bit more deliberately and even slower on the product, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all the newest tech, all the cutting edge stuff that we can, so that we can actually deliver on a huge vision without needing to raise several $100 million, which I think in many ways was a time and a place.
But when you went into cannabis, you, as you said, you were tapping an industry which at the time was kind of untouched, and there's so many regulations, so much even stigma around it, and you
Sure.
came in and you kind of dominated the industry in many ways back then. With AI, you're coming in at a point where every company is suddenly an AI company, and it's just talk of the town. It's a hot industry, right?
Yeah.
So how has that been in terms of standing out? I understand, like, what makes you different, because you're trying to find something that's kind of niche, something that's an opportunity. But how do you sort of make yourself stand out to both customers and investors, and also just to the general public?
Right. I think AI is similar to if I told you I was starting a business and like we have a website. It's like, cool, that's how you have a business. I think AI has to be like at the core of what you're providing. Where I think the opportunity lies right now is most of the software that infrastructurally is what companies use, from accounting systems to ERPs to CRMs. Like those, there are winners there. The opportunity though is that they are mostly focused on engagement and growing user bases in ways that I think deploy AI like a feature. The reason why we've been able to form really close partnerships with the companies whose names you know on the infrastructural AI side is that Mura doesn't exist without AI. And so we have it really at this native core of what we do. For us, we think that's the cool opportunity, where it's less about let's come in and disrupt this big 800-pound gorilla tech player. I don't think that's the opportunity. I think the opportunity is actually in the labor that the person is doing that's using that system. And that's where Mura wants to play, automating these workflows for the back office of these commercial field service companies. That's our strategy. For our customers, we really don't talk all that much about AI,
Okay.
frankly. It's in our website somewhere, but for them it's really simple. Like, they are sophisticated business people, and for them it's like, if you give us X, we will make it 3-4x for you. It's a good investment with clear ROI. That's where we get them. The fact that we can deploy that level of efficiency is because of AI, but it's the same thing as like, and we also have a website. And like, okay, great.
like
What
the
can you do for me?
internet these
Exactly.
days,
That's
like.
that's what I think about it. I think it also means everything and nothing to most people. I'm sure you know all about it because you're a journalist, and we know all about it because we use it and we're building with it. But most people are focused on other things, and so it's good to get specific and speak their language on the ROI.
And using it in your building, what's kind of your take on where the industry is headed, the AI industry? Is there still a lot of work to be done, or are things getting figured out? What's your take?
I think the technology will get to the places that we are everyone excited about it eventually being, before people trust it at that level. So we're using different models in different parts of these workflows that we're automating. Like, we'll use OpenAI for one thing, we'll use Gemini for another, and I love that competition. There's something new coming out every week. Like, we built our software so we can plug and play all these models based on what's best and when. I think for the prediction, like, you will have software with the capability of fully automating some of the things that occur in offices today, but you need to have leaders and users of that software that are comfortable saying, here's 100%. I'm just going to step away and hit one button once. That's tough. And people, I think, really put a lot of value in having a human in the loop right now. And so that's how we play. one final thought on this is I think eventually, like we are building our software right now with an interface that a person will use to be multiple times as effective. Our goal is to become invisible. Like
Okay.
when we do Mura right, that interface won't be there anymore. And it will really disappear and automate the full workflow of these back office operations. But until then, we have to build that trust. And so that's what we are really focused on doing at Mura.
Yeah, I think last time we chatted, you used a term for that. Was it dark software?
Yeah. So Matt Brown over at Matrix has this term called dark software, and the basic idea is that you could build something that's probably 10% better than Salesforce or QuickBooks, but it's not going to be 10 times better. And it's that not going to be better enough, like even it's not going to be greater enough for a user to do the transition. I think the opportunity now is, all right, there are all of these tools. How do we interact with them? And can we make that part, the person at the keyboard, more efficient using those existing systems? That's what dark software is. It's almost like a cloud kitchen model where you order from a brand, a food brand, and for you, whether it comes from the retail store or kitchen in a warehouse somewhere, you still get the hamburger. It doesn't really matter. It's using the things, the brands, and the existing structure that exists with a new take on the AI level.
Yeah, very interesting. I want to, talk a little bit about you as a founder and some of the lessons learned. So you built this company that went on to raise a lot of money, went on to dominate an industry. Now you start something brand new. What are some of the lessons you learned at LeafLink that you will not be applying to Mura?
Yeah. I think the first one is my prior company, which we sold, and then LeafLink were playing in heavily regulated spaces. I think it's exciting. There's a higher barrier to entry for those reasons, but it's incredibly challenging to predict what the government's going to do. And so the fact that it's 2025 and we're talking about, and cannabis is still federally legal is just baffles me, but I can't control the government. And so I wanted to be really careful about picking an industry where there was just more sensible minds at the largest kind of positions of power. That's one. I think the second thing, just like founder to founder, figuring out pricing early and getting it right. It sounds so simple, but a lot of the last 10 years of venture were grow, 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 scale, scale, scale. We'll figure that stuff out later. All my friends that are founders, particularly second time founders, aside from the idea and the customer and the team, those are hugely important things. It's like, are we pricing what we're selling right? Can we actually make money with this tool priced in this way? And the reason why I think that's important is because if you underprice yourself early, it is profoundly difficult to change the perception of the customer on what they think you made is now worth. And so you really get like a couple of whacks very early at getting that right or being in the neighborhood of what's right. So that's something that Claire and I really spent a lot of time thinking about ahead of launching Mura.
Yeah, that's a really great point, actually. In terms of team, it's you and Claire, co-founder, and another co-founder right now. Are you gonna keep it lean this time, or are you gonna grow, grow, grow?
We're growing really quickly, and we have this team of 7 people, which we're going to keep it tight for the next few quarters. But as we close more customers, we'll grow the team to follow and make sure we can execute. For us, we want to be as fiscally responsible as we can, good stewards of capital, but also super aggressive. And we'll take those aggressive moves when it makes sense, and we can make the most of them.
How would you describe yourself as a leader?
I'd say I think action oriented and execution is like the most important thing. I think in some ways I'm a little old school where I love like being with customers, shaking their hand, sitting in their office. I love moving quickly. I think like pursuing perfection is just a bunch of waiting. And I love just figuring out and making mistakes. And so we encourage that. We don't make the same ones twice, but for me it's I know where we're going. I don't always know how we're going to get there, but that's why my team with Claire, she's hyper complimentary to me in that way. Like every single day, we have a funny saying at the office where it's like Ryan can get us into any room, so I'll like kind of blast the doors open. It's like we're here, and then everyone's like, "Okay, who are you?" And then Claire will come and say, "Excellent, good to see everyone. Here are the next steps on how we're gonna pursue a go live." And so I think that's part of the leader that I am, and my partnership with Claire and James on the technical side, super complementary.
Amazing. What are you excited about with Mira for this next year? Where do you imagine it'll be by the end of 2025?
Yep. So by the goal for this year was really to hone in on what the wedge product was going to be, the one that we could scale really quickly to the ideal customer set. I think we found that actually over the last several weeks, which is why we're announcing that we're coming out. And so for the rest of this year and into early next year, it's going to be really about getting a handful of customers that just absolutely love that product live and using it across their teams of several thousand each. And then from there, we'll begin to think about probably towards the end of this year, early next year, scaling up the go to market team that would already follow the scaling we did on the engineering side.
And as a serial entrepreneur, what is the long-term vision for you with Mura? Is this something you would want to eventually sell? Is this something you want to see through to the end, whatever that end may be?
Yeah.
What do you imagine it'll be?
I think there's two paths for us, and we're open to both. I think one is single advantage we have, before I say the two things, is that we can execute faster than even the largest companies that I know, and so that are in our industry. And so for us, the opportunity is either we continue to build something that connects to these different systems and allows us to take advantage of the infrastructure that exists and is just super complementary. There's another path where maybe we decide one day we want to go up against whoever the 800-pound gorilla is. But right now, the only thing we really care about is like, let's form really close partnerships with the best companies on the customer side, on the technology side, and bring them the best experience. And then we'll make decisions as we execute from there.
And why do you say that we can execute faster than anyone else in the industry?
I know what happens to companies, except very few when they get to be several hundred people, and it's just harder to move faster. There's more to protect than often an opportunity to build. And when we're this early, there's not much to protect. It's like just build. And so that allows us to move much faster. We're also willing to do things and get places and put in extra work that I think, frankly, a first 10 employee will do more intense, things to win customers over than the first 1,000 somewhere else. And so that's, I think, that's our edge.
When you were leaving LeafLink, was that a hard decision for you?
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard to leave something that was a primary focus for you and you put like everything into growing it. But I couldn't be like more proud of what we built in my 20s basically, and now we're in my 30s chapter here with all the lessons learned. But it's hard. Yeah, I mean it's not. Companies can feel like a living thing at times, and people say you leave your child type thing. I don't have any kids, but I imagine it's a similar experience. But you want to get it to a place, and I think LeafLink is where it can have its own life and chapters that follow without me being the one making all the decisions. And you have to move on, just like always move forward.
As a young founder, what are some of the key lessons you've learned growing a company?
So something that I've learned over the 10 years that I was at my last business was when you're early and there's only a few people, everyone does everything. And you'll try a bunch of things that you're not good at. And then if you're lucky enough to find someone better at that thing, you can pull them in to do the better job. I think the one thing as a founder that's important is to pull yourself out when you know you found that better person and focus on the things that you uniquely can do. I think personally, I was trying to do so many things early days at the last business, and now I know like where I excel so much clearer and the things that I don't excel at. And that's why I have a partner in Claire and in James that have these really complementary skill sets. And that's, I think, like know when to tap out on a thing that you're working on to find someone better, because you can't do everything the way you did when it was less than 10 people.
Leave me with one last piece of advice to all the young founders out there who want to start a new company.
I think part of being a founder that I find most exciting is the ability to create your own brand and do your own thing. It bums me out sometimes when I see the number of founders that slap logos on themselves for doing this program or this investor or this. And it's like, who cares? If you build something of value with amazing people, customers will love you, and then you get to build your own brand. Don't be so like, have more faith in yourself to build that awesome brand on your own versus needing these things and stickers that you typically just stick on. Doesn't really matter. Something's in it for them, but less for you. And so just push and build, and that's how you make your name.
Great advice. Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Zoya.